Welcome to the Landy Peek podcast. I'm your host and friend, Landy Peek, and I am thrilled to have you join me. In each episode, we will explore what makes life truly fulfilling: happiness, deep connections, and self-discovery. Together, we'll uncover that happiness is not a destination, but a way of living. Now, let's dive into today's episode. Hello and welcome back to the Landy Peek podcast. This is your friend and host, Landy Peek. And today we have a guest who is here to remind us that vitality isn't just about green juice and gym time. It's about the energy that we bring into our everyday life and the choices we make from moment to moment. She's a passionate advocate for waking up mentally, emotionally, and physically, and making conscious decisions that align with who we truly are, not who we've been trained to be. In a world that loves to keep us busy, distracted, and running on autopilot, her work is a powerful invitation to slow down, tune in, and choose differently. We're diving into what it really means to reclaim your vitality, not just in your body, but in your spirit. Get ready for a conversation that just might shift the way that you show up in your life. Today we have Eve Panagitan. And Eve, thank you so much. I'm thrilled to have you. Can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
My name is Eve, and I am a conscious leader, but specializing in vitality manifesting.
Ooh, exciting. So tell me a little bit more about vitality manifesting. What is that?
Yeah. So, okay. For anybody within the three-dimensional realm that's just going through typical things within their life that's actually requiring them to put in a lot of external effort and energy. But also, I this is where I kind of went into the ebook that I'm going to be launching and talk a little bit about also as well anybody who is going through that spiritual journey that is currently offloading those unconscious habits and the effort that it takes and the energy that it takes, and a lot of the old self that's shedding and a lot of the old habits, maybe old relationships as well. And that's a lot. It takes a lot. It takes a lot for you to show up and be okay. This is the present moment, and the present moment still requires me to do things. Showing up for my family, showing up for my work, showing up for my business, and big girl needs to show up today. And that's where vitality comes from.
I love that. And I feel that because as we are doing so much inner work and transition, sometimes it is hard to show up, but we still have to show up. Mm-hmm. There's this balance of showing up authentically and showing up even though we feel like crap. So I would love, when we first got on, like you had talked about, you were journaling, and instantaneously we jump into this conversation around being isolated in a sea of people and consciously not connecting or even really being aware that we're in this sea of people. And do you mind jumping back to the scenario where you were talking about people getting on the bus?
Yeah. Someone had asked me during a conversation, and he says, isn't spirituality a lonely journey? And I said, that is why relationships work.
Mm-hmm.
As, like, what do you mean by that? And I said, because it's not about connection. It's about mutual existence with another. And I realized this, that, I saw a bus and I saw one person get on, and he gets on the bus with a bunch, like a sea of people, and they all just don't see each other existing in the same space. When this guy gets on, because the space is tight, and he goes near this person, and this person just, as if he doesn't even feel his energy or how close he really is. He's just like on his own. Also, if you could just imagine how much of this unconscious habits that we've impressed upon ourselves, that inherited from others and that we've learned from others, their unconscious tolerance just increases. And when I was learning what unconscious habits were, and this is where I was really getting into personal development, they say it's between 3 to 7. That's when the programming exists, right? But I
Uh-huh.
think it still exists as we are today, and it's always happening
Mhm.
until we learn that we are constantly replicating these unconscious habits until this becomes a conversation, or people actually start to think, because most people don't think. And that's why we have unconscious habits, because we allow to put ourselves in uncomfortable situations where our heart and our mind are so detached, and we're not really thinking and feeling, where our heart's telling us this situation isn't the best for you. And so when there is something that might not even be the worst, that's when things blow over. It's something that was always consistent. Nothing just ever happens once. And so that's another layer of like bringing the unconscious to conscious, and that's, I guess that's more of like a further discussion from what we were
Yeah.
talking about earlier.
But it is such a powerful thing when you think about how much of our existence, our daily lives, we are just running on this auto programming, this unconscious programming, and we're isolating ourselves. We have trained ourselves to look at our phones, to ignore people, to no longer make eye contact with people. So we're in these little bubbles, surrounded by other little bubbles, and we're not actually engaging with each other anymore. We are in this completely unconscious programming, and it's not till we bring ourselves into the conscious awareness, not till we're consciously looking at, oh my gosh, we are in this collective. We have this group experience. We're all on the bus here together, and we can look at that and make those connections and create that experience, or we can ride in our own little bubble of unconsciousness.
Like, just envision like a school bus for kids
Yeah.
versus a bus for adults. Like, just think about that difference.
Oh my gosh, that is such an incredible. And my kids are going on a field trip tomorrow. So they're riding the bus. They're so excited about it. But it is a different experience. When you think about kids who actually experiencing this existence on a bus, where they're talking to each other, they're looking out the windows, they're pointing to each other, they're singing with each other. There's so much buzz and excitement. I mean, if you've been on a school bus with kids, you know it's really loud because we're all engaging. And then
Yeah.
you look at adults riding a bus, and there isn't that excitement, there isn't that communication, there isn't that pulling in each other into our existence. We're all in isolation, even though we're in this mass experience together. Absolutely beautiful representation of how we're living our lives. And how do we get back to that kid experience where we're wanting to engage with each other, where we're pulling each other into our worlds and really having that connection versus that isolation?
Recognize the ego.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We just
Let's
have to recognize that, because that's the mirror, right? That's what we build ourselves. That's what we have internally. That's the unconscious habits, right?
Mhm.
Because we live in 3 planes of understanding. We're spiritual creatures, we have intellect, and we live in physical bodies. Most
Uh-huh.
people lost themselves in the story of the physical body, who they think they are, their name. Their name is just a word. Their body is just a shell, right? And that's why you can gain weight, lose weight, become pregnant, not pregnant, and you're still the same person. Nothing changes, is because the real identity is not the person itself, right? It is the energetic body. It is that spirit. And the fact that people can comprehend this message proves that we live in that intellectual field as well, the 3 planes of.
Uh-huh.
And so when we operate in spirit, in that energetic body, that's it's everything is neutral. There
Mhm.
is no such thing within the actual existence of the physical realm other than consciousness creating to exist at every point in time, right?
Uh-huh.
And so um, we have, every time we recognize the story, because we are the creators of every story, that becomes a mirror of what we need to heal. So we go back to that energetic body, to that spirit that can create, which is that fourth dimensional realm that understands what it is so that it can transcend and create the experiences that it wants to create. Because otherwise, we really don't need to create anything, because that's why we're called human beings. We can exist. That's why there are people in this world that can live in automation, but live a very long, healthy life.
Uh-huh.
Because all they're doing is being. They're doing what they love to do until their body can no longer do it anymore, and they'll be able to, have a family, whatever it means, whether or not they're the happiest person at that time. They are just being what it is, and they can live their whole life. There are people like that living for the rest of the world, and that's why, for us, because of our existing conditioning, we are becoming human doings. We're constantly doing conditioning of lack and scarcity mindset, right? The reason why people don't talk in the bus is because they're in a haste to go somewhere. I gotta go to work. I gotta get to my friend's house because this is my only day off. Otherwise, I gotta go back to work again. And if I gotta go back to work again, then I gotta focus on my way to go to the work, even though none of it really matters. Where it's like, okay, why is your mind going there? Why not just be here? Saying how kids could just exist before a trip happens, they can enjoy the trip as it happens.
Yes. That
Because,
is so powerful.
yeah.
You're right. Because as kids, they are being. They are just experiencing. They are present in the moment. I think some adults are present in the moment. I think a lot of us are really never present in the moment and always thinking ahead. We're thinking about what comes next. We're thinking about what was in the past, but we're not actually experiencing what's happening now.
And that's the conditioning.
Yes.
It's conditioning. You see, I gave this example during one of the talk that I had. I had a speaking event, and I said, your hair sheds, your skin sheds. Nothing about you stays the same ever in the physical realm. Only the memories of yourself stays the same. So how much more of that memory of yourself are you continuing to repeat? Ideas, concepts, thoughts that does not benefit your current existence or where you are going.
Yes.
What plans of others have to do with what you want in your world, in your life? How do you show up for yourself? How can you show up for the world if you can't show up for yourself?
And that's huge. And it's showing up for yourself. I think that is so powerful in changing how you want to exist in this world, that you're allowing yourself to be instead of be a doer, that you're really owning the life that you want to create and the life that you want to live. It's huge. And I love the example of how everything else is changing around us, right? Our cells regenerate and we are continually holding on to memories and retelling ourselves the stories. And that's where they're getting really locked in.
That's where the work that I do within Vitality is like even deeper, because there's so much work into this. Because energetic output to recreate that story little by little from cell and membrane and every neural pathways within your brain. That's new energy. And just imagine these powerful energies that keeps your heart beating, that we don't even, our body's regulating. We don't even notice because we're having a conversation. So at some point we are unconscious of what's happening within our internal body. And this is us, even exercising that power. And this is again why it's important that we create that self-regulation. And this is the work that I do within the Vitality work, that at some point we're going to be doing more retreats so that we actually hone into that energy, because every energetic output within creation in different ways. So right now, body's operating in different ways. Consciously, it is regulating itself. At the same time I'm speaking to you, at the same time I'm thinking of what I'm about to say. So that it's creating new energetic outputs. And all of those are power that when used properly can go to great extents into what we're passionate about doing with the people we love, what we do, like even whatever we can do within the present moment of existence, what problems we can solve.
Absolutely. And it's bringing ourselves, our consciousness to what's unconsciously programmed that's going on. Because there are so many times where we are not consciously aware of the thoughts that are just running in the background for us, the belief systems that we have picked up that we are buying into. And it's, coming to that conscious awareness of, in that moment, we can choose the negative thought or the positive thought. They're both there. It's just which one are we going to focus our attention on? And so many times we focus on the negative because that's the programming that we have. So we just continue the story of complaining about whatever we're complaining about because that's what we've always done. And as we shift that consciousness to, oh, wait, I could focus on something different. That's where we have power.
And that's where even that idea of power, there's
Mm-hmm.
such a programming on that. Where
Oh, yeah.
whoa, there's so much fear about power. They've demonized that. Like, there's just so much like ugly in the word power. When our sole existence is power.
Right.
The sole existence of everything that exists is power. The sun is power. How trees are blossoming in the season is power. Let's change that narrative and say we love the power that fuels it all. We love that just came to me. That's channeled, right? We love the fuels it all, and that is within us, and that is not separate from us, and that is one with us. Yes. And truly embody that. And when we do that, that's where we can change ourselves. We can start working on every part of our being. We can start truly helping others, because there's a lot of attempts, and everyone's working on becoming their best for others so that they can help others. Everybody wants to do that, but the truest way to do it is to be authentic with yourself, to be real, to be consistent. Because for one to create such influence around themselves, and there's so much space in this world to create influence.
Yes.
Because there's more than enough in this world for those that are stepping up and creating those influence. Like we really gotta show what real influence is. We do.
We do. And I want to swing back to the power idea, and then I want to come into influence. But I think when you said there's so much like angst and toxicity around power, that we're saying power is something that one person has and the other person doesn't. Versus the viewpoint that you've just brought in is we are seeing power. We need to see power as we each have power. Power is what lights us up. Power is what helps us create. Power is, like you talked about, blooming flowers, right? The trees growing, lights turning on. That's power. It doesn't mean because we stand in our own power and our own authenticity that someone else doesn't have it. You and I get to sit here together and we both have power. And my power doesn't detract from yours and your power doesn't detract from mine. I think, in fact, both of us really sitting in power is elevating the light that's coming out from both of us. It's a combined thing now that gets to be this beautiful existence between us. And I mean, you and I both got on this call and we're like, oh my gosh. And it was just an instant conversation with barely a hello. There's a really vibrant power that's just coming as we fed off of each other. And it's like, oh, wait, we have to record. There is beauty in that. And it's being able to see that power doesn't mean someone has it and someone doesn't. It doesn't mean that there's greatness and lack. Power is just our existence coming from us.
Yeah. Power is the way we are, is the way everything is just is. Everything is just is.
That's it. Power is.
Yes.
I love that.
Yeah. It is this story. Like, it is, like you said, it doesn't take away from anybody. That is a scarcity mindset.
Yes.
So when people work on themselves and they consciously transcend, they'll start realizing that these are existing conditioning of lack, which is scarcity mindset, which means if I have this, therefore that means the other person doesn't. And there's always that back and forth, that one-to-one, where it's like, no, there's I don't know who I heard this from, but I thought it was so wonderful. They said, it's like everybody has their own cup, no matter how big, what size, what it looks like, and everybody can just take a scoop out of the ocean and they'll get as much as they want.
Oh, I love that.
Whatever it is, you get a bucket, you have a bucket, you'll get as much water as you want. Even taking the scoop from the same ocean, there is still more than enough for everybody.
Yes.
It's just up to you with how much you want.
Ooh, that is a huge idea. It's just up to you and how much you want. And if you think of yourself as standing in front of an ocean, I mean, the vast ocean, you can't even see where it ends. And think about, we could have the whole beach lined with humans, each with our buckets and our cups and whatever we brought. I mean, some people are going to have like teaspoons, but we can dip in and it's however much you want. It's bringing that abundance. And I think what I'm tapping into is it's not necessarily that abundance isn't there. It's how we can receive it. With the idea of there are some people that are going to receive it with bucket loads, and there's some people that are going to come with a teacup, and some people that are going to come with a teaspoon. And it's not that it's not out there, and it's not that it's not available to you. It's, are you able to receive it? Do you feel inside yourself that you're worthy enough to take a bucket full versus a teaspoon?
I love that you said worthy, because the deep unconscious thing is people are experiencing what they're experiencing because they believe that they are worthy what they are experiencing.
Ooh, that's a big statement.
We are everything we are truly experiencing today is because that's what we truly, truly, truly want. Truly,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
we truly believe we deserve it. We truly believe we deserve to live where we're living.
Mm-hmm. This is what our inner selves are telling us that we are worthy of.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so we recognize, and it is a big statement, because that is the unconscious statement that needs to be reframed.
Yes.
Am I truly worthy of this now that I keep saying this to myself?
Mm-hmm.
Really what I want.
Yep.
No, then grab your new buckets.
Right? This is the unconscious to the conscious.
Yes.
This is, we are unconsciously just buying into, I am worthy of where I am at. Even though I might want something different, this is where I have settled to, I am worthy of this.
Mm-hmm.
And bringing that unconscious belief to the conscious thought process and saying, oh, but no. Then you do have that option to go get a different bucket. And I love that visual. We can choose like, oh, wait, wake up, look off of your phone. This is what I've created, but I want something different. So I'm going to go pick up a different bucket and start creating something different. But it's bringing it into the consciousness that you're living in the present moment, that you're living in that conscious space and not just running on auto programming.
I hope it touches the people.
Me too. I truly do. And there are listeners right now that are feeling it and that are having those same, because I think you and I have both been in that space where you look up and you're like, oh, I created this because this is what I feel I deserve. And we think of that in a different way. We think, oh, we deserve something grand and big. But in that subconscious belief system, we are really creating what we think we deserve. Whether that's lack, whether that's fear, scarcity, it's because that's what we have bought into the story of we deserve. That's all we deserve. And it's not true.
It's not true.
Unconscious belief system that is not true. It's time to weed that garden and shift into that conscious thought of this is where I am. I'm going to live my life. I'm not just going to exist through it. It's so powerful. And that's standing in your power. As we circle back to power, that is standing in your power of I can create more. I deserve more than I have believed in the past. It's such a huge space to be. And it's one of the things as I bring in, my own coaching is really bringing in the experience, not just the headspace. And I have a new program I'm launching. It's the Spark Initiative, where we're stepping out. And I've done therapy, I've done coaching traditionally. We're in very much that learning space. Let's learn these systems. Let's learn these, belief patterns, be aware of things, but not actually experience it. And with this new Spark Initiative, it's the experience. It's not the learning. Because so many people have the cognitive ideas down, but we haven't embodied it. I think that's what you're talking about, is being able to embody the beliefs, embody our life, wake up, be the kids on the bus, and really embody it, not just exist, live life, not just go through it. And it's such a huge thing when you can actually step into a space that you are focusing on the experience, not the thought process.
I definitely agree. Yeah, with the learning, I believe that's another conditioning. I wrote that.
Mhm.
I wrote that down as you were talking, because part of the conditioning that we have with learning is like, I need to know what these are. I need to read as many books as possible. I need to read this book. Oh, what book are you reading? I'm surprised you actually haven't even asked me that question. What book are you reading? Or have you read this book? Because usually that's the question I get, or that's like what I hear from people. Have you read this book or whatnot? Or have you watched this video? Or do you know this person?
Mhm.
And most of the work that I've done, I could probably name three main influential people that I've listened to, and the rest is meditating.
Mhm. It's such a huge thing. It's turning inward instead of, and I spent years doing the same, looking at, consuming so many books and, taking courses by gurus and doing therapy. I was looking for something outside of me to
Mhm,
teach me because I bought into the belief that you learn it, right? We're a consumer society where we consume not just goods, but also knowledge because we want to be the smart one. We got accolades for being, smart in school and being able to learn and regurgitate things, but it went in and out. It wasn't actually embodied. It wasn't an experience. It was learning from a book. And I'm really good at learning from a book.
mhm,
But shifting that to actually applying it to my life was life changing. It
mhm.
became this I know a lot to I am a
Yeah,
lot.
a lot. Yeah, we got that one too. We got connected to that.
Such a huge shift. And it's letting go of the need to prove that I know a lot.
Yeah.
And, as a business owner and stepping in as a therapist, it was, oh, I know all of this stuff. And I want all of the little things behind my name to prove that I know a lot of stuff. But I look back at me as a therapist, and I was a pediatric therapist working with kids. The advice that I gave, because I wasn't a parent, I hadn't experienced it. I didn't really know how to be a parent. And so I took a lot of knowledge from books and from courses and I shifted it out and gave it to my clients. And I look as a parent and I'm like, oh my gosh, so much of it was bullshit because I just was using the knowledge to try to help instead of the experience. And if you've experienced it, you actually are that, you are being that, then you understand it at such a different level.
Because now it's more doing, less consumption, which allows you to be even more conscious of the present moment. Therefore,
Mhm.
that power into creating when you want to create, only to what you want to actually experience, which
Yeah.
is really what we're supposed to do.
Right. And
Yeah.
we want to experience. I
Yeah.
think if we look at, how many of us crave vacation? And vacation gives us that permission to be, where it's okay to sit on the beach or sit in a hammock under the trees or wherever you want to do and just be, right? We look at that craving time, sitting in the quiet, being able to, have your cup of coffee or your morning tea in this quiet, beautiful space. We crave that. We dream of that, but that's not the life that we're actually creating. So it's like we can give ourselves that if we give ourselves the permission to go on vacation and I don't have to do, we get to be a lot. And although there are some people, like I was for a long time, my vacations were the do's. I had like the list of things that we're going to do from the morning, to when we woke up to the time we went to bed, we were moving. But that was because I wasn't okay with being. I wasn't okay with even being with me. And I think that's such a huge thing as so many of us are uncomfortable being with ourselves. And so when we sit and we have to wait at a doctor's office in silence, we don't just sit in silence and go inward and meditate. We get our phones and start scrolling. I can't just sit with me. I'm going to look at a magazine. I'm going to scroll my phones. I don't even know if they have magazines in doctor's offices anymore. Like everybody's scrolling on your phone. But there is,
It's like everything else is more interesting than me.
yeah, oh, yes.
Everyone else, everything else, everyone else's idea, everyone else's opinion, everyone else's existence is more important than mine.
Oh, That is so accurate and so sad.
Yeah. And you're talking about vacation to be, and I wrote that down again. To be, see, it's the free will, you know,
Mhm.
to be happy, to be sad. Like right now we can feel whatever we want to feel because I'm in control. This is my free will. This is your free will. You know, it channeled to me, and I put this on Threads, I think this weekend. Because my name is Eve. And
Mhm.
I feel like I'm here to fulfill a prophecy to say that we've always had the free will. And
Mhm.
the apple was just the illusion of our desires, and like we always had that choice. It was us, because anything that comes into the existence is by way of consciousness, and it needs consciousness to create that. So it's like, is it within itself, the apple was just the illusion of the actual existence of wanting or desire to have that free will. We've always had it. And so the vacation to be, where it's like, you don't need a vacation to be when you can just always be.
Absolutely.
You always have a chance to be, you know? When you have a family and you have kids, you are being because you want that. You want it, right? So whatever it is for that moment calls for, let's say whatever you're making for them, you are being, because
Mhm.
that's what you wanted innately. You desired that. That's what you asked for. You have that free will. And so to recognize that is that gratitude. To recognize that this is where um, people feel like it's effort when they're getting into personal development, and a coach says, you gotta be thankful. You know, they're like, I'm always thankful. Like it's just
Mhm.
blurts out, right? But there's this level of gratitude where it's like, this is what I wanted. This is what's happening.
Yeah.
Whatever, whether it's cleaning milk off the floor, this is what I wanted. This is what free will gave me.
Uh-huh.
Have that attitude towards it. To have that attitude towards it is that alignment. That alignment that creates even further elixir to that vitality. And that's, in deep sense, is like a lot of those things that I talk about. Creates that elixir to that vitality because you are no longer resisting to what the gifts of the moments are giving you, which is energy, power, fuel,
Oh, wow. Yeah.
poise, however you want to exist in that moment.
Uh-huh. And I think it's so huge as you brought up the difference in gratitude, because there's definitely a difference in the saying, I'm thankful for this and I'm thankful for that, and this deep level gratitude of, I am thankful for this moment. Even if it's cleaning up spilt milk on the floor, this is where I am. This was the choices that I've made in my life have gotten me to this moment, and I'm grateful to be in this moment. There is such a deep level of gratitude that comes from, it's like almost every cell of your being versus this conscious thought of, I'm thankful for all of the things I have, to, I am just so dang grateful to be here. And that's so huge because we learn so much and hear so much about, you want gratitude, right? You want to have a practice of gratitude. You want to thank things. But there's a difference in that cognitive thinking and the actual feeling and being in that grateful gratitude state.
Yeah. I'm grateful for this moment, to have met you, to have
Yeah.
this conversation. Which obviously, like you said, it was like just divine timing where everything was. And I such a great conversation. I think a lot of the viewers are connected to the messages in any way. I'd love to get connected. And feel free to message me, and I'd love to just, just tell me anything. You leave me a voice note. I try to leave everybody a voice note at some point. Because I do feel like in any way I can be a mirror to anybody,
Mhm.
then happy to help. I'll be launching my ebook soon, which is the signs of burnouts to which vitality is needed, right?
Uh, yes.
I went into depth one, which is like health decline, right? As we know, as within, so below, and so anything that's mirrors within the outer physical world of health deterioration usually happens within the spiritual realm. So I go in depth with that in the ebook. I talk about another symptom of burnout is self sabotage. You know,
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
people don't recognize that. So imposter syndrome or oversaying something in conversations when they shouldn't be. Like
Yes.
over themselves. Where it's like, no, you're in control. You're in very much control. You're all.
Yes.
And so that is a sign of a burnout. And we need to recognize that. Let's not normalize it. Let's normalize what we want to stand for, who you want to become, and let's continue from that source of power. So I go into within the book. And then I obviously talk about negative interactions as well, and frequent negative interactions, because all experiences are neutral. And I was talking about us being an energetic body, experiencing every other experiences as within the same form, meaning all energy exists as neutral. We're the ones who create positive and negative. Even the terms positive and negative is a word we made up, right? Even that can be said in many different languages. And that's why that is called the three-dimensional construct, because it is not real. So if we perceive something as negative, it is a mirror for us to say, what is this mirroring me that's hindering me from consciously transcend and becoming who I need to be so that I can become what I want to be? So it's like, it's just that constant creation of becoming who you want to be, because most of us that have tapped into, and I'll just say this because this is the benefit of social media, is that social media had allowed us to see what we want to see, be like, oh, that's a nice lifestyle I didn't even think of having,
Right.
it opens our eyes up. Well, I've never exposed myself to that. For us to experience something we've never experienced, we have to become someone we've never been. And so it's very important. It's very important to recognize that change, and that
Yeah.
you cannot simply be the same person, and becoming that new person, that new self is required, because you can't work from your existing paradigm. You have to become new. And that work again requires vitality, because as you transcend, you become a mirror to those around you as well. And that's a deeper topic, and that's something that people need to, when they are in that journey, they will experience it. And that's where deeper vitality work is required, because you're going to need to show up, and people don't know the emotional battles that you are going through because of these changes within your internal world and how you're seeing the world around you.
Can you please share the best way for people to connect with you? Because I would love if someone is inspired to connect and continue a conversation with you, that they have the ability to reach out.
My Instagram is ACEE Investor. So Investor.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, they can reach out to me there over Instagram. I post about consciousness every day, like similar to the conversation we had about the bus.
Yeah.
It's something that I do bring to consciousness too. So not just that topic, but there are a lot of things that I put forth that creates, like, even things that I talk about, how people create the habit of like, hi, hello, how are you? Oh, I'm good. You? It's like not a real conversation. Let's change. Let's change that. It's like,
Yeah.
how often then they look away. It's like, did you really ask me a question? We want to be valued, right? Like every human in this planet wants to be valued, and we have to show that value to ourselves and to each other. So if we ask, hi, how are you? And then as you ask that, you look away, it's to say that you're not really valuing your own time. That's an exertion of effort that you're not really following through without creating any meaning or anything to it. It's just, we're not parrots.
Right. It's that unconscious programming of, we see someone, we say, hi, how are you? And often we don't even wait for the response. You're completely right. We're just moving on. It's that unconscious, oh, this is how we do. It's the rote, this is our pattern, not I'm actually connecting with a human being. I'm not genuinely curious about how you are. I'm not making eye contact. I'm just doing pleasantry. And so it is taking those unconscious programs to that conscious level of experiencing and living your life. And I love that you've brought that to our awareness. I want to thank you so much for this conversation. This has been just a phenomenal conversation, and I truly hope the listeners got some incredibly powerful ideas for themselves so they can step into their own power.
Yeah, I hope so too. I'm sure. Yeah, I'm really excited how people will love this, and I think people will love it.
Thank you, Eve, so much. Hey, before you go, just a little bit of legal. This podcast is designed for educational purposes only. It is not to replace any expert advice from your doctors, therapists, coaches, or any other professional that you would work with. It's just a chat with a friend, me, where we get curious about ideas, thoughts, and things that are going on in our lives. And as we're talking about friends, if you know someone who would benefit from the conversation today, please share, because I think the more that we open up these conversations, the more benefit we all get. So until next time, give yourself a big hug from me and stay curious, because that's the fun in this world.